move on, the U.S. military has said that it has struck a vessel in the Eastern Pacific, killing 3 men. The U.S. Southern Command says that on February 20th, at the direction of U.S. Southern Command Commander General Francis L. Donovan, Joint Task Force in Southern Sphere has conducted a lethal kinetic strike on a vessel operated by designated terrorist organizations. According to reports, at least 138 people have now been killed in strikes on suspected drug boats as part of Operation Southern Sphere. President Donald Trump's administration has said that the campaign is aimed at curtailing narco-trafficking. Now we welcome Mr. Adrian Calamel. He's a terrorism scholar, joins us live from New York. Thank you very much, Mr. Calamel, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now looking at this,
good to see you.
Thank you very much. Now looking at this, these reports have come in saying that President Trump's administration said that the campaign is curtailing narco-trafficking. But of course, this is not, we haven't been, it's not been publicized which narco-trafficking organizations were hit in these, many attacks on these. Can you share a little bit more about this?
Yeah, those are really good questions, and good morning to all your viewers. Yeah, it's so with these strikes, I mean, the problem is, as you laid out, is that it's a lot of fog of war. We don't know, at least maybe we'll find out in after action reports who these groups and what groups they're affiliated with. But the drug trade is a very dark and shady world. What I can say is just the movement of drugs, what they're trying to do, I think, is focus on the supply in Venezuela and make sure it doesn't come up through Central America and into Mexico. Because if we look at the narco-terrorists in Venezuela realistically, the vice is being put on them. We saw Trump when he first came in, he was talking about putting Mexican cartels on the FTO list. I think he may have put a few on, and actually, it looked dangerous that there could be a possible engagement, and that's much different than the situation in Venezuela, where Venezuela is not right on our border. So drug traffickers are going to try and find the way to, in this case, it's cocaine, try to get it up to the Americas. And, it's different. It's land, air, and sea. The most effective routes for right now that they've been targeting that we see are the sea routes. But as far as who they're connected with, they could be connected with, that's the murkiness, both with the Mexican government, and I'll say that about the Mexican government as well as the Venezuelan government, is a lot of times you have politicians that are linked, intertwined with the cartels, including the military.
And how is this operation, that's ongoing? It has killed, I think, more than 130 people so far, as long as we have been told. So how is this Operation Southern Sphere blurring the line between counterterrorism and drug enforcement policy in international waters?
Yeah, well, that's another great question. If you look at these groups that are operating in Venezuela that have a monopoly on the drug trade, that have a monopoly on the drug trade in certain parts of Mexico or wherever it may be. We also have to look at these drug gangs, and in this case, parts of the government, the Venezuelan government, we're working directly with Hezbollah. We're working directly with the IRGC. So it starts to fall, and they use terrorist tactics. So they fall into this narco-terrorism bucket that we like to call it, these organizations. So it does blur the line a little, but people will look at Hezbollah, a group that's embedded in Latin America, that's embedded in Venezuela, that's a big part of the problem with the drug trade, and they'll think, well, that doesn't sound like them. They're very religious or zealots, and they wouldn't be involved in that. That couldn't be farther from the truth. They're very actively involved, and so what I always say is you got to always look at them as equal part zealots and equal part criminals, or equal, with terrorists. They'll carry out these activities to terrorize the population and also to make a profit on the side.
And this is just a very speculative question here, but in case we've seen with Congress, Congress has said that these tariffs were illegitimate, right, or illegal. So what happens if Congress makes a statement like this or judgment like this about these attacks as well? Because there's so many things that have not been proven about these people on board at these boats.
Yeah, what would have to happen is that there would have to be proof, evidence. Somebody from Congress would want to call for hearings on these strikes. Now, as far as war powers go with presidents, this isn't a war, and actually it kind of came off rather smoothly with the taking of Maduro and Delcy Rodriguez remaining in place. So you're not talking about, a massive armada that we're seeing in places like the Middle East right now with the Islamic Republic of Iran. So it's Trump does have the executive power, and he is the commander in chief, and this is not a war. So I think Congress is going to have a hard time trying to get in the way of this unless there starts to be accurate reporting saying, no, they're not hitting drug targets. These are actually just guys out on a fishing boat, which I doubt. But, as soon as the first case comes up of that, if one or two of those comes up, you can be sure there'll be groups that will be calling for, and individuals, and rightly so, they should be calling for, an investigation to say, not is the practice wrong, but are we targeting the right individuals? How are we going about this? What are the rules of engagement here? How are we going about identifying these targets to make sure that this never ever happens again if we get hitting people that are actually innocent of some crime? But to be honest, we have to remember these drug gangs, narco-terrorists, they're cutthroats. And it could be a coincidence. We'll have to look at U.S. pace and tempo, but it could be, not a coincidence, or actually, starting up some cooperation that we see coming out of the Donovan and Joseph Humar going down and meeting Delcy Rodriguez just the other day in that snap visit. He's the head of Southcom. So, we'll see. We'll see what goes. Trump's juggling many balls here in the air.
Indeed.
And all eyes are on, Iran, Middle East right now, and Venezuela is kind of off in the rear view window.
Yeah, indeed. But thank you very much for sharing that. Always great learning from you. Thank you very much. Now that's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.